Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Mankind in Training. Today, I am bringing you alongside with me. I have a software engineering class, and with that class, there were two projects. The week two project consisted of coming up with a plan for a software program of any type, really, completely planning everything out for it and writing up the pseudocode and just going through the motions of creating a software project. And then week five, which is next week, it'll be due. You have to write up the project that you created into code and hopefully have a working one by the end of it. So I'm going to bring you guys through what I'm doing. I decided on a game, very simple as games can be, a text console game that I'm going to make out of a C++ program. And C++ will run it out of the console, and then everything will just be text. There will be no graphics at all whatsoever. But you'll see, even something as simple as that can actually be quite complicated, and there's quite a bit to it. So I'm going to walk you guys through what I've turned in already, and then what I'm working on now, and then how to go about doing those things. So thank you for showing up for another installment of Mankind in Training, and I'm going to share my screen now. Alrighty, so let's get rid of that. Um, Not sure what's happening there. Just want to minimize you. Thank you. All right, so the very first thing I did was come up with the user interface. What is it going to look like? And that was my very first idea. And now I'm creating a role-playing game, something simple, but entirely text and no graphics to it at all whatsoever. And just something as simple as that can be incredibly complicated. The very first thing I did was come up with, what are you going to see? What is it going to look like when you're playing this game? And the very first thing I did was write this up. So this is the heads-up display design that I've turned in for my week two project, where you start out and it's going to ask you for your name, and then you put in your name, and then it will start you out with health at 100, level 1, and then all the rest of these will be at level 1, or I think I went with 10 for a damage rate and 10 for a defense rate. Various different weapons that you can pick up. You'll have a backpack. Inside of the backpack, you can carry so many items. There will be silver and gold and diamonds, and you can use those to make stronger weapons that have larger attack, like a larger damage rate. And those will be multipliers that go along with the damage rate that you accumulate with just your level going up. And so this is what I imagined I would be seeing. And then underneath the heads-up display will be a display telling you what's going on. So like, here was my idea. So you start out the game and you can move it. You start out, you have the ability to move W forward, S backwards, A to the left, and D to the right, just like the old school computer games used to be. And what I did was I'm going to create functions, one of which being called encounter. So when you press W or S or A or D, if you press any of those buttons, there will be a switch, and then a case. I'll go through all what that actually means, but so when you press W to go forward, one of two things can happen. it can say either nothing has happened right here, or you have encountered I come up with a list of names of different things that could possibly be the different creatures that you could come across while you're adventuring. And then you have, if you do, so if nothing has happened, nothing has happened, you can just press W, S, A, or D again. And then, but if you do encounter something, you have the option to either run away from it, which is, if it's a higher level, you might want to do that. You can attack it, which if it's a higher level, you might not want to do that. You can wait, which sometimes that's the best way to go about doing it, because you'll see I wrote into the game where where you wait and see what they're going to do, because they have the same options when they encounter you. They can run away from you, they can attack you, they can wait, or they can give you a gift. Now, if you go with 3, ask the Minotaur's name. Typically that it will either, then they have an option to either, again, attack you, run away, or give you a gift. So if you ask the thing for its name, more often than not, you're probably going to get a gift instead of just attacking it. But if it's a really high level thing, it's probably safe to just run away from it. And then I'm going to make functions to encompass all of these things. So this is the heads up display for if you did encounter something, it will bring up what it is, its health, its level, its class, its damage rate, so on and so forth, what kind of weapons it has, what kind of attack it has that's magical, and then its defense type. And I might do away with defense. This was just an initial, this is what I had pictured when I was making it. So, and then this menu here, I might incorporate some of these things. I might not. I might not have a shortcut button, and you might just be able to access them through menus. It's just things that I knew I wanted to have in there. So you start out, and it will ask you for what you would like to be. You can choose to either be a human. You're always going to start out as a warrior. So you're going to be a human warrior, and you'll start out at scout, and you can upgrade as your level goes up. Eventually, you will be promoted to sergeant or captain and then commander. Or you can choose to be an elf warrior. The magic you have to learn is going to be a learned ability. Or you can be a dwarf. So these are the 3 things that you can start out with. And then you can learn to become an angel, a demon, or an immortal. And when you learn those skills, you will get the reason that you would learn the skills is various things like increased magical abilities, or I came up with auto heal. Now, in order to heal, you need to use a health spell. And in order to use the health spell, you have to not be attacking or running away, or you have to stop. So that was another reason for the wait option. If you're in the middle of a battle, you'll have to press the wait option and then go out to your menu and heal. But if you are a demon, an angel, or an immortal, you will auto heal. Every 3 seconds, you will get 15% of your health back. 15% of your total health, not what it currently is. So, and it will do it every 3 seconds automatically. So it makes you quite a beast, if you will. It'd be hard to kill you. Harder anyway. And then I just kept writing the different rules about what's going on. I came up with, we're going to have XP, we're going to have battle XP, we're going to have weapons XP, we're going to have magic XP. They're all going to be different. They're all going to have a different tally. And they all work towards upgrading different things. Your weapons, obviously, you'll upgrade your weapon level. Magic, you'll upgrade your magic level. And then I came up with evil XP, good XP, and immortal XP. And those will work towards becoming a demon, an angel, or an immortal. So every 100 battle XP, you can upgrade your I think it just is what I came up with that is your damage rate from battle XP. And then weapons XP will kind of come with that. There's a lot to it. So just me writing up this heads up display and the ideas just from this alone is a ton of ideas. It's a ton of different things that you have to work into this game and how we're going to do it. So it became incredibly complicated very quickly. And then the more you write in these rules, these are parameterizing more things that you have to put into the code in order to make it work how you wish. So this is what I come up with for monsters that you can encounter. And then I put max levels for them, but I'm not sure if I'm going to work them in or not. It was an idea that I had at first, but so we got a wolf, large snake, a gorilla, a hippopotamus, a Cerberus, a dragon, an evil mage, a bear, lion, a crocodile, a minotaur, Medusa, a wraith, and then gods. There are some gods that you can come across. With all of these, just run. Run away from these things. With the gods, you don't necessarily have to run, but you definitely shouldn't fight them because you won't win. So your options are either run or ask them their name, and you might get a gift from those gods. Also, you can encounter normal characters, like everything that I told you that you could be. You can encounter one of those, and they will be from levels 1 to 1,000. Random. There will be a lot of random things. So when you encounter something, it will generate one of the names from the list of characters. It'll generate one of those. It'll generate a random level that it's at. It'll generate a random health that it's at. It'll generate a random weapon that it has. All those things will be just generated randomly from a list of things that it could be. An array of weapons, an array of names for characters. All weapons can be upgraded from steel to gold, diamond, to magic gems, to god runes. And that's the percentage at which the damage will increase. If you have you start out with a steel, whatever you have, except for the club. The club, obviously, we can't upgrade a club because it wasn't steel to that'll be, and that is the weapon that you're going to start with, is a club. So you're going to probably want to get rid of that as soon as you can to get something that you can upgrade. Each weapon level increases the damage by 0.25% of the damage rate plus the damage rate. Same with the magic levels. Your character has a race. It has a backpack. Can hold one weapon unless it's the dual sabers. Like, you'll have one weapon out at a time. You can have other weapons in your backpack, though. You can have magic, demon, and angel, and immortal powers. You have a magic rate you can upgrade. You can upgrade yourself, your weapon, both of which will amplify the damage you can deal in attacking. Simple for now, no quests, just move WSAD, and each time the console will say what has happened and what your options are. You can use magic gems to craft magic weapons, and god runes, gold, silver, and diamonds to craft higher, like I was saying above. You have a character, you have a backpack. Backpack has items. You have a magic rate, health rate, weapon level, and then you can have special things like being an angel, a demon, or an immortal. And then I started writing pseudocode, but now I just kind of started writing. I know this is not at all how C++ looks, but I was just kind of writing, okay, what do I need and what do I need? So, hello, choose a species to begin with, and you're always going to start out as a warrior. And then I started defining things, creating heads-up display, creating the backpack, game instructions. I just kind of started writing up the pseudocode. And then here's a matrix I made that I was going to try to tuple together, like each position. So human scout gets 0 to 1,000, 0 to 1,000, yada yada yada. Each thing for each place. And then I was like, I'm not sure how I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna make that into something. So, and then here I started writing up some more things about this is the assignment that I had turned in and various things that we needed to do. So here's the main plan. This is all the planning that I put into something as simple as just a text console game in C++. There's a lot to it. So the first thing I started doing once I started actually making the code, so now we're on to the week 5 project, which is due next Sunday, and I'm nowhere close to done. There is a lot to do yet, so I'm going to be very busy. But I wanted to bring you guys through the thought process of designing something from beginning to where you got nothing but an idea to trying to make it happen with code. So what I started doing is writing it up. I started writing up what I could, and I'm using Notepad++ here because I wanted to make it simple for you guys. But in all reality, if you are designing something, writing a code for anything, you're not going to want to use a notepad like this. This is something simple that you guys can download and follow along with. You can type all of this into a text editor of any kind and then just save it as .cpp, and then it will run if you get the things you need in order to get the console to run your file. Started out with including string, including IOStream, namespace, so I don't have to write std 2 : before cout. And then I started putting everything inside of my main function. Normally, you wouldn't put everything inside of your main function. You would have different files. You'd have different header, like .h files. And so you would have a main.cpp, and then you would have maybe a game.cpp, and then you would make some like where you would put all your classes and things maybe, and then some .h files to go along with it. You would use more than one single file, but for simplicity purposes, I wanted to put everything into this main so I could show you guys. And typically you wouldn't, like I was saying, you wouldn't use a notepad. You would use something like this. This is or an IDE of an integrated development environment. There's lots of them. But the main one that people use for CPP that I've noticed, C++, is Microsoft Visual Studio. And what I did here was I started a project in Visual Studio. I haven't put anything into it yet. This is what you get when you start a console-based app, a Windows console-based app. Now I could have done this, or I could have done a Windows and Linux C++ app where it runs from the Linux terminal. But this one I wanted me to be able to run it with PowerShell on Windows. So this is the file that I created. And then what I would do is all the stuff that I've written into here, I'm going to start copying into here. And for all intents and purposes, maybe write pseudocode and stuff like this, but I shouldn't have started writing everything in this. I should have been using the IDE for several reasons. It is very easy to link, for you to make different files, header files, resource files, source files. This integrated development environment is what you would want to use to create a software project of any kind, especially if you're using C++. Visual Basic or Visual Studio seems to be the way to go about doing that. But like I said, I just started doing this, and I opened this up so you guys could see what you're really supposed to be using. Or there are things like IDE 1, or there's a bunch of different integrated development environments. Or I could have wrote this in Python and not used C++, or I could have used Java in Eclipse or something. There's lots of different integrated development environments that you can use. So I think once I start doing this, because I'm using C++ as a language, I'm going to use the Visual Studio, but you can use Visual Studio for Python stuff too. But I have PyCharm and a couple different other, like, yeah, I use Jupyter Notebooks a lot, which isn't an IDE, it is a notebook technically, but it's fine. I use Jupyter Notebooks quite a bit, especially if I'm making a project to show somebody else. That notebook format is nice. So this is my project that I haven't done anything to yet. They start you out with a main, and they don't have a return 0 for some reason, but that's fine. We'll put that in there when we get there. And like I said, you wouldn't want to put it all into a single file, but for simplicity purposes, that's what I'm doing here. So you're going to want to comment in what you're going to do and what you need to do. These 2 slashes give gift, defeat, victory, encounter function, defend, attack. And I'm going to have to put encounter like right up at the top because it gets called relatively quickly. So I'm going to have to move that from where it is. And you'll see these things like as you're writing it, what the problem is. You'll see it as you're writing it, like, oh, I can't do that. Wait, yeah, I can't do that. So I started out, the first thing I did was I started defining all of the objects that I was going to have. So XPs, items that you're going to have. Then I started initializing weapons. So those are all the things. Since we added all those, we should get rid of this. I just commented that in. So started defining all of the objects that are going to be in this project. And then another thing I did was create arrays. This is an array of strings. Your weapons here. I defined them down here already though as an integer. Now it's because I haven't, like, I had a plan going forward, and then I was looking at like how other people may have done something similar, and then I was like, okay, maybe I shouldn't do it like that. So I'm not sure if this is the best way to go about doing it, or if this is the best way to go about doing it, and then giving the various weapons attributes later on, that it has a level, that it has an integer level. So this weapon will be a pointer to the level. And then gamebot names, the different things that you can come across in an encounter situation. There were 51 different things. So I put all them into an array. And then I decided that I was going to make some classes, the player class, and then I'm going to do a GameBot class. So what we did here is initialized, well, we defined a level, a magic rate, a damage rate, a defense rate. We defined the weapon and we defined that it has a weapon level. So I might maybe that's as you're writing it, you're like, oh, okay, what should I do about this? Or what should there's a lot to it. There the phrase I'm looking for, I guess, is there are many ways to skin a cat. There are more than one ways to skin a cat. And there are certainly a ton of different ways that you could write up something simple like the game that I had the idea for this project. So I am now initializing the player dot name as adventurer unless you give them something else, and it will see in ask you for your yep right here. I see a problem there. All right. Player dot name. Yep. Okay. Nope. Nope. All right. And we'll go put that back. Enter your character's name. I think that needs to be tabbed over actually. Now I need to look into the documentation on how to actually do this. I'm pretty sure percentage is not the way to do it. I just haven't looked yet on how you're supposed to do that. So I just wrote the line in and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go back and fix that later. I just wanted to get it down. So I'm not, when I'm looking back through everything, I'm not missing stuff like, oh, I need to do that. Oh, I need to do that. So then we commented in initialize XP and materials. So I still have some decisions to make on how to go through doing this. Void main menu. This is what I was talking about with the switch in the case. You'd put switch and then case 0. Exit is press 0, so return 0, and that ends the file. Case 1 will initialize a new game. Case 2 will initialize a game that you've already saved. Case 3, character menu, and then weapons menu. And then attack function. I'm not sure how to do the save game yet. I need to look into that. So this is a function I made called attack. This is what it involves. If choice is 1. Ooh, so okay, so I need to define choice. As you're reading through, you'll see issues and problems that you're having. Things that aren't going to work like that. And then I started doing so encounter case W if there's a lot to it. It's actually really, really complicated, and you'll really start to see, okay, I'm woefully unprepared to do this or this or this, and you really need to look into what it takes to make that work. So, as I'm putting all this stuff into the IDE, it will like tell me that I have an error before I have even run it. Most of the time, it'll be a red line underneath of it, kind of like like Microsoft Word, when you spell something wrong, it will tell you that there's a problem, and most of the time it will suggest to you what is wrong and how to fix it. But there's quite a bit to, but so you can do if loops, you can do while loops, you can do for loops, you can do the switch in case, where these are your options. This is what happens when you select those options. I this is poorly defined right now. So the choice was 0 is run away, but if choice is 1, it's attack. So if your choice is 1, then you're going to take the gamebot health and you will subtract it by the player's damage rate or magic rate plus the player's damage rate or magic rate times the player level, weapon level, or level magic level at times 0.01. And then the same thing if the gamebot chooses to attack you but backwards. It will subtract from your health. And it'll say you have attacked whoever the gamebot is for the amount that you just took away from their health. Same here. I just put the messages backwards. C out is just printing something to the to your why am I losing the word here? Your terminal, not the terminal though, my goodness, console, the Windows console in a PowerShell is what it's going to bring up. And then I've created a function here called run away. You either escaped or you didn't. So you either escaped or else encounter again. And your encounter options will come back again. Movement selection, that's where I got to here. I'm seeing problems as I'm reading this right now. I didn't really see them as I was writing it, but so there's just something as simple as a entirely text-based game that pops up from your console. There is a ton of different things that you have to get working in order to make your dream a reality. So I'm going to keep working on this. It's due next Sunday. I have a lot to do on this. I know it's been a while. It's been like 2 weeks since I made a video last, and I said I was going to do this a couple of weeks ago. I'm glad I waited though, so I had at least some actual code to show you guys about what was going on, or else we were just going to have my plan here and what I turned in for ideas, pseudocode, and interface. Like I said, typically you would not write everything all inside of one file, one main.cpp. You would split it up into several different files, and then you would write at the top of your main, include whatever those files are, include whatever those files are. You would break it up, and it's a lot more efficient and fast that way. I know it seems like that wouldn't be the case, but it is though. Having a big, long, clunky main file is not as efficient actually as having bits and pieces in different files, and then everything that you really need to run the program. And it's and what those like an entity relationship diagram was one of the things I had to make for the week 2 project to turn in, and it sort of helped me understand what I needed to do and where I needed to put things where. But as you can see, I still don't have very much done. So all of it coming from the planning. The more time you spend planning and efficiently getting your framework and your architecture set up, the more chance you have of successfully creating the software that you're trying to implement. because there's so much to it. And then you really see like where all the assumptions you made are as you're starting to code it out. You're like, oh, wait, I can't do that. Why did I think I could do that? There's a lot to it. Building software of any kind is actually relatively difficult. So something as small as just a simple text game, there are so many different details and things that just went right over the head, and you won't know about them until you're actually trying to build the thing. So the more people you have on a project who are experienced, that's why it takes thousands of coders sometimes to make the successful software that you use on a daily basis. It took so many different people to build it, and that's the reason why. Because there was so much to it. Is definitely a difficult career, if you will. It's hard to write up most anything, but with perseverance and help and stick to itiveness, you really can get everything you need done. So thank you guys for watching. Again, this is Mankind in Training, and I am your host, Josh Parr. And I will be back again shortly with either the part 2 of this video where I show you my game and it working actually, or I think another question and answer episode is going to be next, though. I think we're just about there. I'm waiting on one question. And in all reality, I could probably make the 9 questions just fine. So, thank you guys for watching, and until next time,